Hello and welcome back to another video from 55 degrees north and to episode 41 of your fortnightly Newcastle upon Tyne construction and restoration update. In today's update we're covering all the major sites that you've been following: Pottery Lane, Pilgrim Place and many more across the city. We've also got important news on the Tyne Bridge restoration and the Gateshead Arena development. So make sure you stay tuned right at the end for those key updates. Let's dive straight in and take a look at the progress made since the last episode. So we're checking in on the brand new students' accommodation going up on Leazes Park Road, right on the former Bark and Stonehouse furniture store site. From the front, it might not look like there's been much change, but trust me, there's plenty happening once you get a closer look. Round the back, most of the structure is still wrapped in scaffolding, but that's where the real progress is hiding. The first thing you'll spot is the brickwork, now climbing up the building across the first two floors. You can also see insulation panels fitted neatly across the walls, all ready for the next layers of brick to go up. Looking in to the interior, you can see internal walls are taking shape. Room layouts are really starting to become visible now. And down at the low end of the site, a big reveal here. The scaffolding has finally been removed from the old Georgian building. All the windows are now in place, including that beautiful main arched doorway. Around at the front it's a similar story, with only the scaffolding on the opposite side left to come down. Moving around onto Leazes Park Road, we've got more great progress. All of the windows on this side are now complete, and taking a closer look, the insulation is climbing higher and higher, floor by floor, edging closer to the top. Meanwhile, the brickwork along the bottom two floors mirrors what we've seen on the back of the building. So while it may look quiet from a distance, there's actually a lot going on behind the scenes, and the building is really starting to take shape inside and out. So we are now taking a look at the brand new apartment blocks going up here at Pottery Lane, built by Olympian Homes. And we're starting right up here on the Gateshead Bridge, so we can get a clear view of the entire site. And as you can see, it is still completely wrapped in scaffolding, but trust me, there's a lot happening behind all of that, so let's head in for a closer look. Over at the back of the development, the very first sections of scaffolding have actually started to come down, and this gives us our first glimpse at how the finished buildings are going to look. It's great to finally see some of that final exterior being revealed. Looking along the side of the building, most of the brickwork on the lower levels is now complete, but as we move higher up, there's still quite a bit left to do. So expect to see a lot of work continuing on those upper sections over the next few weeks. So now let's head down onto Pottery Lane itself and take a closer look from ground level. Starting with the first building, through the scaffolding you can see even more brickwork has been completed since our last visit, and down on the bottom floor the first pieces of fire safety equipment have already been installed into the walls. Just below that you can spot several door frames waiting to be fitted, so internal work is clearly starting to pick up pace. In between the two blocks there's now a large amount of material stacked and ready to go in, so it looks like trades are gearing up for the next big push inside. Now over to the second building, and it's a very similar story. More completed brickwork on the outside, and just like the first block, you can see piles of aluminium framing ready to be installed for the internal walls. And finally at the far end of the site, there's still plenty of pallets waiting to be moved off site, so logistics and clean-up are still well underway as construction continues. And that wraps up this update on the Olympian Homes development here at Pottery Lane. Progress is really starting to show now, especially with those first pieces of scaffolding coming down. We are now moving down to the Pilgrim Place development at Carlisle Square, including the block that is set to be taken over by the Department of Work and Pensions. And from down at the bottom end of the site, looking up, you can already tell there's been quite a bit of progress, so let's take a closer look. Starting here at the bottom, one of the first major changes you'll notice is the installation of the very first aluminium window frames. These haven't been here long, and it's great to finally see the facade starting to take shape. Just beside them, new steel posts have already gone in, and if you look on the ground, there's a pile of additional steel waiting to be installed. And remember that drainage hole we saw in the last update? Well, that's now been filled in, making the area look a lot more complete. Up at the top end of the building, we can now see the first bits of internal ducting being fitted. They're wrapped in bright orange plastic, hard to miss. And along the side of the building, a significant number of aluminium window frames have now been installed. Moving around to the Warwick Street side, most of the steelwork here is now complete. You can still spot some of the temporary orange support beams that are keeping everything stable while work continues. There's also more ducting visible from this angle, showing that the interior infrastructure is progressing across multiple sections at once. Around at the back of the site, workers are busy adding additional steel beams to the upper floors, and as you can see, a huge amount of steelwork has gone up since our last visit. But the job's far from over. There's plenty more beams ready to be lifted into place, including one very large one that's clearly waiting for the crane to come in and do the heavy lifting. So that's the latest from the Pilgrim Place development at Collier Square, with steelwork rising, ducting installed and window frames going in. The site is evolving fast. And now moving up to what was the biggest construction project going on in the city right now, the brand new home for His Majesty's Revenue and Customs. And guess what? Fins are finally reaching the finishing line. So after months and months of building work, the structure is now officially complete. We're currently just waiting for the official handover to the HMRC, which is expected to happen later this month. Once that happens, the next exciting phase can begin. The retail units on the ground floor, which many of you have been asking about, are set to begin their fit-outs in early 2026. That means we should finally start seeing those spaces take shape, with new businesses preparing to move in. And for anyone wondering about Pilgrim Street, here's some great news. The side of the street that has been closed ever since demolition started on the old Odeon Cinema, all to make way for the new massive HMRC development, is expected to reopen in January 2026. It's been a long time coming, so it'll be great to see this side of the street open again. Now, since the main build has finished and fins are about to quiet down until the retail work begins, this will be my last update from the site for a little while. But don't worry, I'll be keeping an eye on fins, and at the moment I see progress, whether on the shops or anywhere else around the building, you'll be the first to know. Now moving on to the brand new North East Space Skills and Technology Centre at Ellison Place, being built for Northumberland University. And let me tell you, since the last update, this place has really started to take shape. So let's dive in. Starting out front, the transformation is really noticeable now. A huge portion of the steelwork has been covered with sleek new panels and window sections. This whole frontage is beginning to look like the finished building rather than a construction shell. Now, around the back, there's even more to see. A noticeable number of glass panels have been fitted on this side, and they're quickly climbing up towards the top of the building. This whole elevation is filling in fast, and it's great to see how much progress since the last visit. Looking along the top side from the main entrance downward, it's the same story. Rows of new windows and cladding panels have been installed since the previous update. You can really see the building's final shape emerging from all angles now. Down at the bottom end, Pins are a little bit behind compared to the other sides, but honestly, nothing to worry about. These areas usually catch up quickly as crews move around the building. You can already see the prep work in place. From this corner, you get an excellent idea of what the finished building is going to look like. The combination of new panels and nearly completed window sections gives a really clear vision of the centre's final modern appearance. And along the side, you can see more panels stacked on pallets, just waiting to be fitted. So the momentum on this project definitely isn't slowing down anytime soon. So that's the latest look at the North East Space Skills and Technology Centre at Ellison Place. Construction is moving quickly now, and every update makes it easier to imagine this becoming a major hub for space research and technology here in the North East. And now for a quick roundup of some of the other projects that's going on in the city right now. As usual, we're kicking things off on Northumberland Street, where pavement improvement works are still very much underway. Up at the Haymarket end, you can see crews continuing to work right down the centre of the street, and honestly, that's the story along most of it. Looking through the fencing, you can spot some of the new seating areas and planters taking shape. It's already given a hint of what the final refreshed street layout will look like once it all comes together. Next, let's swing to the Gotham Hotel, which is finally opening for business after a few delays. The main structure is done, the doors are open, and the only thing left is a small patch of pavement at the top corner. It's great to see this one come to life. Another project that's wrapped up and welcoming visitors is the city's second stack venue, and yet, after facing its own delays, it's officially open. The place is buzzing, and it's exciting to have another entertainment spot added to the city centre. And finally, let's head down Pilgrim Street. The long-run saga of the new cycle lane looks like it's almost over. The fencing has now been removed, leaving just one small patch of tarmac to finish off. After all this time, it's great to see it nearing completion. Alright everyone, as promised at the start of the video, let's talk about the latest on the massive Tyne Bridge restoration project. And wow, there's been some big news. So engineers working on the historic Grade 2 listed Tyne Bridge have now confirmed something pretty major. The number of repairs needed to bring the bridge back to its former glory has more than doubled. Yup, doubled. When the restoration kicked off back in 2024, the estimate was around 1,000 separate repairs. That included steelwork, concrete restoration, masonry fixes, drainage, waterproofing, and of course the huge task of fully repainting the bridge. But now, 20 months into the project, that number has jumped to over 2,000 repairs. Engineers say the bridge was in a much more worn down state than originally realised, which honestly isn't too surprising for a structure that's nearly a century old and carries thousands of vehicles every day. But here's the good news. Officials say that they're now confident that most of the issues have finally been identified, and importantly that all the repair costs will still be covered by the funding already secured. This includes the extra £6.3 million that was confirmed earlier this year, a big boost to help keep the project on track. And if you have been anywhere near the quayside lately, you've probably spotted another big change. The scaffolding is now climbing up the main arch of the bridge. This is one of the most complex stages of the restoration, and it's a clear sign that the team is moving into the major structural work. All of this is gearing up for one huge milestone, the Tyne Bridge's 100th anniversary in 2028. If everything stays on track, we should see the bridge looking its best it has in decades, just in time for the celebrations. We are now having a look at the latest update on the Sage, the highly anticipated Riverside Arena and Conference Centre that was supposed to begin construction back in the autumn of 2023. But instead of cranes and concrete, the site between the Glasshouse and the Baltic Art Gallery has been sitting still, and now officials confirm a decision about the project's future won't be made until 2026. The North East Mayor's Office says it's still completing a study to determine whether the development can realistically go ahead, and if so, in what form. Rising costs and ongoing delays have pushed the project far off its original timeline. Despite the uncertainty, there is some optimism. A spokesman for the Mayor's Office said the combined authority remains committed to supporting Gateshead Council as it works out the best path forward. And they have emphasised a shared goal to create world-class cultural assets at Gateshead Quays, boosting the region's reputation as a top destination for culture and tourism, all tied to the North East's wider growth plan. So for now, the big question remains, what will the final version of the arena and conference centre look like? And will it even go ahead, as originally planned? We'll have to wait until next year for definitive answers. So do you think this project will ever go ahead? Please let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this possible new conference centre and arena going ahead. So just before I wrap this week's video up, I'd love to hear what you think. So drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts on all the construction going on around the city right now. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a massive thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of my future updates. A massive thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on 55 Degrees North.